Hello, everyone. It's Lindsay Landry, and we are here with the Make a Splash Summer Bash. And I am here with Lisa, and she is a mindset coach and a sales coach. And today we're going to be talking all about selling with soul. So I'm so excited to
Hi.
have you here today.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I think anytime we can have really good, honest conversations about selling and money, it just everybody wins. So I think it's really good that you invited. So thank you.
Totally. And I see that this is an area I know I've struggled with it in the past, and a lot of my clients and my community also. When we're running a heart or a soul-centered business, it could be really
Mhm.
easy to get caught up in the sales here. So I'm so excited
Mhm.
to just be diving into this with you today.
Yes, me too.
So I'd love for you just to formally introduce yourself and tell them a little bit about your business and who you are, what you do.
Yes, thank you. Well, I have a business called Lisa Eaton Consulting and Coaching. I actually currently have a blended therapy and coaching practice. So I started off my professional life as a psychotherapist and really loved that work. And I still love that work. So I still insist on keeping some therapy clients because I will always be connected to that. I transitioned into mindset coaching several years ago because I just desired a bigger platform to connect and empower women and work with people around crushing their fears and just upgrading their confidence and seeing how their mindset was really the foundation of success in anything that they set out to do. I really wanted to take that to a larger audience. There's a lot of rules in the mental health field, and rightfully so. It's good that we have those rules and those ethics in place. But I wanted to just be able to connect and work with people on both a wider level and a deeper level too. So when I found coaching, it was kind of like, oh, this is what I was meant to do. And then the sales coaching piece sort of, I want to say it recently evolved, but if I really think about it, it's been kind of a long time coming because I realized that in running my private therapy practice, I just, without realizing it, was having tons of sales conversations, like with hundreds of clients every week, over and over and over. And it wasn't until I really got into this business and started having discovery calls and talking about sales that I realized, like, oh, I've done this before. This is how I built my private therapy practice, is by talking to clients about their pain points, how I can serve them, how I can help, negotiating money conversations, talking about rates, talking about cancel fees, all those kinds of things that come up when you own a business. I realized I had done that before and I really enjoyed it. And I felt like I had created a system to do it in a way that didn't feel salesy, didn't feel manipulative, didn't feel pushy, just felt really good, honest, empowering. And so when I started to have my own sales conversations on my own business, it felt easy, it felt good, it felt empowering to me. And I wanted to be able to teach others that sales could actually feel good and honest and empowering and really work to grow their business. So I would say in the last year, I've been moving more into the sales direction. And then more recently, really decided it was time to really embrace that and just really lead with that. So I still do the mindset coaching and I still support people around their business mindset, but I do a lot of sales coaching at this point and I love it. It's just to see people have breakthroughs around money and sales is just life changing, because it's not really just about sales, right? It's always about feeling more confident in your business and really stepping up as the leader and claiming that you have the power to grow your own business and not the other way around, right? And just feeling more empowered about money. So
Yeah,
I find that it's not really just ever about selling. It's always selling. It's always about so much more. And that's just a beautiful thing to watch clients have breakthroughs around that.
totally. And um, as you're talking and just, sharing the story about how you been a therapist for years, and it's like you are having these organic sales conversations and probably
Yes.
didn't even really think of them as sales conversations. I can totally
No. Yes.
Because being a dietitian, and even before that, I was doing holistic sessions, consults, and a lot of times people were asking me for sessions, and I didn't even have all the details in place, or
Mm-hmm.
winging it, But I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
great point, because when we're really coming from that place of service and
Yes.
really wanting to give value, and we're really coming from that place of passion for our work and also serving our client, it can be a totally natural process, and it doesn't have to
Yes.
be salesy or scammy or
Mm-hmm.
even like a power struggle where, you know, I'm sure people watching have had these experiences. I've had them where you get on the phone and then you
Me
feel
too.
like the person is like overly selling you. It doesn't have to be any
Yes.
of those things.
Yes. No, and really, as a therapist, it couldn't be any of those things, right? Like it was illegal and unethical. And I'm sure too, for your own code of ethics as a dietitian and nutritionist, like we just couldn't do that, right? So, and you wouldn't want to, right? Just in the field that I was in, that wasn't my desire. So it was like, if I was going to grow my private practice and follow my own personal ethics and the ethics of my profession, I had to figure out how to have conversations about money and booking sessions in a way that felt empowering to this person that was coming to me wanting the support and in a more vulnerable place too.
Totally. And I totally love that you blend all of this with the mindset work, because I feel like that also is such a huge component of, one, making sales, right? But also in
Mm-hmm.
growing your business and in taking your business to the next level, because it's never really about the money, whether you're on the giving side or the receiving side. There's always so many other factors in place that
Yes.
play a role, the structure factors, but also the, even how do we feel about receiving clients and taking them on a 3-month program or whatever,
Yeah.
you're selling. So I love that you blend both of those pieces together and support your clients in that way.
Yes. Thank you.
So I would love to just sort of dive in. And I know that you work with your clients in a 3-step process. So would you want to just maybe start by telling us a little bit about your 3-step process?
Yes, yeah. So I have what I call a sales framework. And again, this was something that, I didn't necessarily have in the beginning of my business. It's definitely evolved as I've gone and as I've worked with clients who often come just after they've had really negative sales experiences, or they have themselves felt really disempowered as the salesperson, or just really lost, or even people are really avoidant of it altogether, right? I've got clients that come to me and they are ready to outsource the sales process, right? So it was a way for me to really help structure our work, to give it some good boundaries, so people felt like sales wasn't some abstract or elusive or just overwhelmingly stressful thing that they couldn't get. I wanted to help people understand there are some step-by-steps, and that it can still be very tailored to them, right, too. So even though I have this framework that I take my clients through, I still work very individually with people, because that is part of why sales can feel bad to people, is that we often have been sold to in one particular way, or we learn from the industry or from other industries we've been in that you can only really sell in one particular way. So the important thing, with shifting around selling, is knowing you can do it in your own way that sounds like you, that resonates with your ideal client, that makes sense in your industry. And certainly there's still good sales strategy, right? I'm not denying that there's good things to think about around being an effective salesperson, but it doesn't have to look one certain way, and you don't have to sound or say certain things in order to sell effectively. So it's really about helping my clients find their own brand of selling and what their voice sounds like as a salesperson. So the 3 pieces of my framework are root causes, and then the sales mindset piece, and then the sales process implementation. And I'll take you through. Do you want me to take you through each
So
step at
before
this
you do
point.
that, I just want to say one thing, because how you're saying, the sales process really can look so different for every single person. I personally can totally relate to that. And I just want to say this for anyone watching. So when I was a dietitian, my sales conversations looked very different from when I was an energy healer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dietitian, I still had some abstract things. And then I'm saying this too because I know we have a lot of energy healers and spiritual entrepreneurs in my
Mm-hmm.
group, and they struggle with
Yes.
their sales conversations or even
Yes.
communicating their work. And so, having a conversation about energy work can be a lot different from like how I'm going to help you grow your business from A to Z, or how I'm going to help you lose
Yes.
pounds doing X, Y, Z.
Yes. Yes.
So I know for me personally, it's like I've had to find those tweaks just even as I've expanded my own business. And the conversation I have now is going to be a lot different from the one when I was just doing energy work too. And
Yes.
I love that you brought that forward, and just it really is customized to
Yes.
you, your clients, like your process, the whole 9 yards.
Mm-hmm. And even that each piece of your sales process can look different depending, like you said, on your industry or what resonates with you. I had a call with a client this morning who really was focused on doing video for her visibility piece of the sales process. And I just finally said, do you even like doing video? Is that something that you really enjoy? And she was like, no, and I don't want to do video. And so, okay, well then let's think about how else you can get visible as part of your sales process, as part of your client attraction process. That doesn't have anything to do with video because you're not really excited about it. Like, let's think of other ways. So again, a lot of times people come to me saying, oh, I have to do these things in order to sell, or I have to be this way in order to sell. And it's just not true, right? There is good sales strategy, but it can very much be, and it should be, about what makes sense and feels right to you and your audience so that it connects.
So yes, with that being said, tell us about your process. So the first one is the root, right?
Yeah, so it's really identifying the root cause. And this just really comes back to my time as a therapist, right? My brain just kind of goes to that idea of, okay, so here's what you're saying is the problem, but really what's kind of at the root of it or what's underneath of it. And so for sales, where that's really important is a lot of times people come with either a fear or just a negative vibe about sales. And I like to understand what's underneath that, right? Is it family money stories? Have you been sold to in a really negative way? Is there a feeling of like maybe you're feeling like a fraud in your business, right? Or maybe you've had an experience where if you really show up fully or confidently, it has created negativity for you, right? Or a bad experience with other people. So a lot of times there's pretty common root causes for why people feel afraid of sales, or they avoid sales, or they want to outsource sales. And so being able to understand where that's coming from can then help you be able to tackle that fear head on versus just, throwing a bunch of strategy out there and trying strategy after strategy and nothing is connecting. It's really important to get to the root cause first and understand why the sales fear is there and what to do about it too. So that's really important. And that's really important for anything, I think, right? So no matter what my clients come to me about, it's like, okay, well, let's get at the root cause of what's going on, but especially for sales fear. And there's, usually 4 to 5 pretty common reasons, like root cause reasons that people fear the sales process or selling. The second part is what I call sales mindset strategies, because again, as a therapist and as a mindset coach, I have this fundamental belief that mindset's really at the foundation of everything that we do, whether we're trying to, find a partner, whether we're trying to lose weight, whether we're trying to start a business, we're trying to sell. Having a mindset for success in any one of those things can make or break our success, right? And so with sales, specifically being able to shift some of our negative beliefs around, how selling has to be pushy or manipulative, or I can only sell in one way, or people are going to think I'm greedy if I charge a full price, or feelings around communicating my value or showing up as the expert. There's a lot of just mindset stuff, right, that gets caught up in that process. So if we're able to shift our thinking and our belief system, or just even be open to the idea that sales is something that you can learn and you can do well, right? Because a lot of people will say, I'm just not a salesperson, or sales isn't my thing, or I don't like selling. And it doesn't mean that you have to love selling or that you have to go on and have a sales career, but is it possible for you to embrace selling or be open to selling looking a different way than you've been sold to, or learning how to do sales in a good way? So it's really about making those mindset shifts around selling. And then the third piece is what I call the sales process implementation. So meaning, this is kind of the strategy. This is where the strategy comes into the framework, right? So, okay, we've understood the root causes of your sales fear. We've made some mindset shifts around selling. The third piece is really, let's put some strategy around all of that, right? And so my belief is that there's a beginning and a middle and an end to your sales process. And so really coming up with specific strategy that, again, aligns with you, right? Like how you like to show up in your business. What kind of an industry do you have? Is it brick and mortar? Is it online? Is it more in person? Is it service or product based? And then what that means for how you show up in a sales conversation, the kinds of things that you can say and how you can structure your sales conversation, how to do follow-ups with people, how to keep the sale once you make it. So really those strategy pieces that people can put in place, but from a place of alignment with themselves, not just me saying, do these 8 things and you will make sales.
Yeah, I think that's so, so important, because I know, especially for the early on entrepreneurs, when you're just starting, even the first year, the first year to 2 years when you're just starting, like, there was part of me that I didn't realize, like, you can think that a sale is as simple as like just putting out an offer and then getting on the phone with someone and hopefully like they want to buy it. But I didn't realize that there's like so much more actually to the process. Even your first connections, whether you're offering a free content like this video, like that is part of the sales process, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I know for me personally, like one of my work is pretty deep. So just like you do pretty deep work with your clients too, because you're getting really intimate and looking at some of these fears. Mine is too. And I used to really, even when I was a dietitian, I would have so much fear coming forward about like not wanting to like hop in bed with people, right? I felt like, do they really know me? Like, do they know what I'm really be getting? And I think like what you're saying is so important, because when we can realize that the whole sales process is really all of those connection bases. And so when we're making those connections and when we're providing the value, then when we get to the sales conversation, it doesn't have to feel like, oh my God, I'm just meeting this person for the first time and I'm asking them to commit to 3 months or 6 months and kind of like hopping in bed together. Like, what are we doing here,
Yes. No one night stands.
No.
It's a long-term relationship building. Yes. I love that analogy actually.
Yeah, so it's really a totally different feel, and it's a totally different feeling even going into those conversations.
Yes.
When you have the whole process aligned to something that feels really good for you.
Yes, and really good for your potential client, because like you're saying, by the time you are hopping on a sales call with them, it's not as if, like you said, it's the very first time you've ever connected, right? Oftentimes, if you're using a process start to finish, you've nurtured relationships, you've shared a lot of great value, you've made genuine connections. And so there's already some know, like, and trust there, and there's already a genuine connection, right? And so you've already shown up and served, and they know you fairly well, right? And so it can make the sales conversations just flow and feel a lot better than what we sometimes often envision in our head of, having money price conversations with strangers and trying to pressure them into buying. It's often not at all what it feels like because there's been a sales process that you've implemented along the way.
Totally. And so we had one of the questions in the group that I'm going to ask because I feel like it fits in right here. So
Yeah.
I can totally relate to this, and I'm sure so many people watching can also. So sometimes when you get in these sales conversations, we can be in the place of like wanting to give value. And then you find yourself like giving and giving and giving. And then at the end of the conversation, the person doesn't want to sign up or they're not interested in purchasing whatever you're selling. So
Yes.
for someone who's like having trouble closing the deal and they find themselves like really over giving and over delivering, is there anything that you want to say to that?
Yeah, I think it's important to somewhat detach yourself like from the outcome of these conversations, right? So it's like, I don't want my clients to feel like giving value or over delivering is ever a bad thing, or that it has to be met with closing the deal, right? So giving value, and everybody has their own kind of line in the sand when it comes to how much to deliver or over deliver. That's a very personal choice. But I want to keep my clients out of this feeling of like, I'm giving value so that they end up buying from me or so that I can close the sale, right? Just being able to give value as a way to provide service and to make an impact detached from the outcome. And then it's really about where the client's at. Maybe the client genuinely isn't ready. Maybe the client generally doesn't have the income to invest in the services right now, and being able to honor that without making it a reflection of you, right? That either you've done something wrong or giving the value was a waste of time or not something that you should have done. It's really about making those two separate pieces, right? That you want to show up and give value anyways, and be detached from whether your client's going to make the sale or not. And if they don't, then you have still shown up as an ethical service provider, right? Giving value and making an impact. And then you've not attached yourself to whether they want to show up and invest or not. And also remembering that sometimes people they're not a no, they're just a not now too. And that's an important distinction.
Yeah, I know I have personally seen that in my own business. Sometimes it'll take months or even a year for someone to like come back around. And if we continued, like you mentioned, the follow-up process, like we stay engaged in the process, then the energy can come back around. And
yes, absolutely. Because you're still engaging that process. You're still maintaining those connections, right? So it's kind of about separating the give value from trying to make the sale. And when we do that, we're just giving value for the sake of giving value. Yes, we want to be strategic. Yes, we want to be intentional about it, right? But it doesn't have to then produce closing the deal, so that we can just continue to give value and know that that's where the client is at and not necessarily a reflection of us.
And so we had a few more questions in the group. Is it okay for me to go ahead and ask them?
Yeah,
okay.
Please, let's keep going.
So another question that someone asked is around charging your value and what you feel like is, charging your value, and I guess even maybe raising rates. So like when someone is at that place of really wanting to step into their value and possibly raise their price and start charging more for their service.
Yes. Like the question is how to do that, or how to feel good about it, or just managing the mindset.
If you can touch on all those, that would be great. I don't know, how much detail you want to give.
Yeah, my thought is that, and this is something that I've learned through my own business that I work on with my clients is that pricing your services is so personal, right? It's a very personal thing. And yes, do you want to understand and research the market standards? Yes. And do you want to also understand your ideal client and what makes sense for them and their lifestyle and where they're at in their business? Yes. So those are two important pieces that you want to make sure you're paying attention to. But the third big piece is, how does it feel to you? How does this price point feel to you on an instinct or on a gut level, right? And being able to stay tuned into that. And part of what is kind of interesting about this is, like, we go into business because we want the freedom to decide our own prices and to charge certain things. And then when it comes down to actually doing that, it can also feel scary and like, what's the rule, or what should I, or where's the magic number? And it's just about really giving yourself permission to try out different price points and to stay very tuned in to what feels right to you and still be watching the market. And then let that be something that can evolve and that you can adapt as you go too. I think a lot of times we can get lots of mixed messages from the industry because people are out there charging really, really high prices, right? And then there's other people that are out there charging really, really low prices. And so we can be pulled in lots of different directions. And so I think the pricing is one of those things that's so important to be able to stay tuned into yourself around and know that nothing is set in stone. And as you go and as you work and as you grow, you will probably change your mind or feel differently or be called to adjust your prices. And that's all okay, because it's your business and there's no rules because it's your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I know for me, I've hit both places in my business over the years of, one, like knowing it was time to raise my price, and I raised my price, and it was really easy to receive new clients.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the place where everyone else was charging more, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to raise my price. And
Yes.
the closer I got to trying to raise my price, it just didn't feel right. So I ended up staying
Yes.
at where I
Yes.
was. And I love the really inviting you to go inward and to
Yes.
feel into what feels true, what feels aligned, what do you feel ready for. And it doesn't have to be a black or white process, but it can be
Yes.
a gradual expansion of trying on the price and getting into the energy of it.
Yes. Absolutely. And that's true of so many things in our business, right? Like how we want to get visible, what feels right to us, right? And how many clients we want to take on, right? If we're in a service-based business, what kind of hours we want to work. All of these things are very similar in the sense there's no rules. There's different things that you hear people doing, but ultimately it comes down to tuning in and really deciding what's right and then being available to change your mind or adjust as you go.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that Marie Forleo quote where she says clarity comes from action, not thought, right? So kind of getting out, putting some prices out there, charging them, receiving them, and then deciding how that feels, right? When you're working with clients. And so I tell people, like, yes, it's important to set some prices and get out there and work and see how that feels and adjust as you go.
Mm-hmm. Yes, beautiful. So another question was, when you get on the call with someone and then you
Mm-hmm.
lowering your price or giving discounts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like
So
how to handle that.
yeah, so you have your price set, and
Yeah.
I'm sure we've all been there at one time or another. And you have your price set, you have an offer set, and then you get on a call with someone and you end up wavering on your offer or offering a discount.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people, my clients even personally, they'll do it subconsciously, right? It's like not even like fully registering or like remembering what they
Mm-hmm.
want, and then they find themselves like offering something different or discounting their service.
Yes.
Is there anything you want to
Yes.
say to that?
Yeah, I think being very intentional even before you hop on a sales conversation about kind of where your line in the sand is, or what feels, again, kind of that tuning in piece, what feels right to you. Because sometimes it's okay to offer a discount, or it's okay to adjust something if that feels aligned with you and feels right to you, right? Like I've done that in my coaching practice, I've done that in my therapy business, but from a place of I'm choosing to do this because this makes sense for me or it feels good to me, versus out of guilt or fear of losing the client, right? So I want to make the distinction that lowering your price or negotiating a different rate isn't always bad, as long as it's something that you feel good about and you're doing from a place of integrity and intention. I think where it becomes difficult is when we panic and we do it out of a place of I don't want to lose this client, or I feel guilty about how high my prices are. So what I tell my clients is, before you hop on the sales call, get really clear with yourself, right? Like, do you have any room at this point to accept a lower amount or to do a payment plan or whatever the client might ask you, or not, right? So that way you can be very clear going in before anyone asks you that. Because there's a lot of clients that you end up talking to that will never ask you that, and then they just accept and respect the price that's listed as the price that it's at. So being prepared can sometimes help you not feel deer in headlights if that comes up on the call. And then it can also help you, when you get clear beforehand, to be able to respond two ways, right? So when clients show up and they ask me that on the call, if it's not something that I'm available for, not something that I want to do, I will sometimes look at it more as an objection, right? Versus an actual request. So I will treat it more like a place to explore more with them. So are they really asking me for a discount, or is there maybe something else going on, like the root cause, right? That's prompting that. So I will sometimes explore with clients, like where I'll say, well, I know this feels like a really big investment. And I totally understand that. That makes perfect sense. Is there something that feels scary about paying the full price, right? Or what do you worry might happen if you pay the full price? And so I will sometimes respond more to what I think is actually going on underneath their request for a decrease. And that can sometimes evolve into a really great conversation about any money mindset issues, or just fears of investing, or maybe they've had a bad experience before, or they're afraid to go all in. And I think that's really the important conversation out of that. And then we can really focus on that and less on figuring out the rates. And then I will also, if this is what feels right to me at that time, just be honest with my potential client. I know that this is something that you're requesting, and I'm totally available to hear that. But, I spend a lot of time thinking about my prices, and I put a lot of time and effort into thinking about it. And I want to be fair across the board to all of my clients and very much stay consistent. And that's just a way, again, where you're not making them feel bad for asking. You're not getting reactive or resentful about it. You're really just pushing the honesty button, right? And just using that honest approach where you're very clear about the value that you bring and the time that you've spent in deciding prices. And then it's really up to them, right? Like, you've been clear, and now it's time for them to decide if that's something that they can do or not do.
Yeah, I love that. And even just the energy of you explaining it, I can feel the grounded and the sturdiness. And
Mm-hmm.
my biggest takeaway from the things that you just talked about is, when we are really rooted in ourselves and we're
Yes.
really grounded in our process and
Yes.
where we are going.
Yes.
I could feel your energy just as you're telling us. And I think it's sort of the same thing when we're in that grounded space and we're talking to clients. We're really taking ownership of the call. We're really
Yes.
holding the space. And so then they can feel
Yes.
safe, and they realize, like, oh, she's leading. So do I want to be on
Mm-hmm.
her train or
Mm-hmm.
not?
Mm-hmm.
Then they
Yes.
make a clear energetic decision, even if they're not consciously making it, from an energy place, but they can make a clear decision
Yes.
on what they want and what they don't, when we have our healthy boundaries and we're really staying
Yes.
in our own energy space.
Yes, totally. And really, I tease that those are honesty and empowerment are two like not so secret secrets to a great sales conversation, right? Because whether it's someone asking for a discount or someone, wanting to do a payment plan or someone wanting to pay later, there's always all kinds of like interesting money stuff that comes up on these conversations. Well, not always. I mean, sometimes. And so just to be able to ground yourself in a place of honesty and then empowering the client to make the decision based on what you've shared, I feel like staying rooted in that, you can handle anything that comes up on a sales call, right? Anything that might get thrown at you, as long as you can stay clear and honest about, like you said, your boundaries, and then make it about the client's choice. I feel like no matter what could get thrown at you, you will be able to handle it and stay in integrity with yourself and your business.
Yes, I love it. That is the root, right? That is the root of
Yes.
sales, honesty, empowerment,
Yes.
your own space, and then
Yes.
giving your client their own power back, not
Mm-hmm.
taking their power or giving them yours, like really keeping those
Mm-hmm.
boundaries.
Yes, absolutely. And that came from my experience in private practice, right? There was no way I was going to be pushy with a potential therapy client. And that was my business, right? That put a roof over my head and put food on the table. So I did be really honest, like, these are my prices, these are my policies around money, right? And it was just more of like an honest conversation. So then it was really cool to translate that into these types of sales conversations and the online business too, because it just fit and it made sense. And then people felt good on both sides.
So good.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think the last question that we got was around seeing and communicating the value of their work or your work. So
Yes.
she basically said she struggles when she gets to sales conversations because she has a hard time fully articulating the value of her work or like what maybe they're going to be receiving.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's anything you want to say around that, or for someone that is in that similar situation, any steps that you might recommend them take?
Sure. I think this is a big place that a lot of people do get stuck. It's like, how to show up in a way that feels genuine and doesn't feel like it's too much value or too little value, and that still feels true and not salesy. So I think this can be somewhat hard to navigate, which is why I always tell people practice sales conversations, right? With your coach, with your mentor, with, a business buddy, with someone that you trust, because being able to find your voice with communicating your value and find the comfort level and finding that sweet spot, right? Where you feel very much in your power, but it doesn't feel overboard or too much or salesy. I think it just takes some time and some practice. So I always recommend that people do that. The other thing that I will say around, just being able to communicate your value is sometimes it's about talking less and listening more as a way to communicate your value. And what I mean by that is, when your potential client comes to you, and it's different in different industries, but a lot of times in the service-based industry, they're in pain, right? They have very specific pain points and they have very specific hopes and dreams that they're really, really desiring, right? So sometimes we're able to communicate our value through really listening in to their pain points and really understanding what it is that they're wanting and being able to connect what we do to what they're wanting and to paint that picture for them, right? So instead of being able to just focus on, well, here's my experience, here's my credentials, here's what you get, here's all the things that we do, here's why I'm amazing, right? Which can sometimes just not feel good or it can feel disjointed. It's more about really making sure you're tuning into that client on a sales call about, okay, what are their pain points? What are their hopes and dreams? What are they really desiring? And can I help them, right? That's always the crucial question for you to ask yourself. Am I the right person for them? And if you are, being able to really connect what you do to paint that picture of how working together can really help them, resolve pain point A, B, C, achieve X, Y, and Z, right? And really helping them using their words, right? Really helping them see the value of what investing in work can help them achieve too. So really making it less about like your value and what you bring, and more about letting them know that you understand where they're at and where they want to be, and how the work together can help them get there. And that can be very powerful because it really shows them you've heard them, you get them, and you know exactly where they're wanting to be, and you're able to translate how your work can help them get there. And that a lot of times is really showing your value.
Totally. And I just want to add too that I know for me personally, the more I give value, like because I used to really struggle with feeling like I could communicate my work. And so I feel like sometimes when we're hitting those bumps, like we may need to ask, how can I show my value or give examples of my value before people get to the sales skills as well.
Yes.
And then that
totally
can allow us to feel more confident. And the other thing that's coming to me is even having examples. So I've done this for lots of my clients with energy work, because it's something that's not tangible and people don't always understand it. So I can send them a guided meditation, or I can send them something where I can give them an experience of they can see the value, and then we can have a conversation after if they want to talk more. But I think, like the points you said are so important. And also, it really goes back to mindset too, like really kind of feeling into like, okay, why am I not feeling like I can show my value? And is there something that might need to happen before the call, or is there some kind of shift that I include that will make me feel more safe or relaxed in this process?
Absolutely. I work with clients on some mindset strategies to take before the call, whether that's reading through old testimonials, right? Or doing things that really just either pump you up, right? And get you in that place of feeling good and full and confident, or that really ground you and help center you in these are the results I help my clients get. This is why my work is so unique. This is what I bring to the table, right? So that it just makes it easier for you to connect that with what your clients are looking for too. I think that's so important.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the idea of reading the testimonies before and after. I think, it is. It's like if we can get into that zone of like feeling good, and I've heard some people like dance before their
movement, yes,
but just really getting the energy flowing.
Yeah, and that's why it's about like what works for you to get yourself in the right place, right? Because some people need to like really boost up their energy and get it up here. Other people need to like bring it down here and center it. So it's like helping my clients understand, okay, well, what do you need to do before a sales call so that you feel full and confident and like you can showcase your value really easily. And I also like what you said about it's not just showcasing your value on the sales call. It's the whole way through your sales process, right? By, sharing really great content and value and connecting with people. And then of course, on the sales call, and then even after the sales call, right? If you're following up, you're sharing a guided meditation, like you said, or some other video or something that you have done that's a way to keep showcasing your value. So it really can hit, and it should hit at all points of your sales process, that value piece.
So good. So are there any last tips or words of wisdom that you would love to give our watchers today?
Yes, just a couple of things. One is that the sales process is so important, right? Because it helps you like rinse and repeat something, right? So all the pieces are important, but being able to really be intentional about the steps that you're taking, beginning, middle, and end, is so important so that you know this is how I attracted and booked my client, right? This is where I've attracted and signed my last 3 clients. So that way you can rinse and repeat that process, and you're not just either not booking clients or not knowing where the last 2 clients came from or where they came from, right? You want to be able to have a nice process that you can keep repeating over and over that works, right? And so you can be very intentional about it. And then the last piece is really just wanting to really shout this from the rooftops, right? And help people see that sales can actually feel good, right? And it can be good and it can do good and all of those things, and really help spin this conversation about sales on its head so people can be more open, not just to sales feeling good, but that you can actually do sales very well and it can really resonate with you. And it's the thing that helps you to grow your business too. And just being open to thinking about it differently.
So good and so important. And so if anyone is wanting to connect with you, learn more about your work, or even just hang out in your space, do you want to tell them how they can find you?
Yes. 2 spaces. Actually, I have a Facebook group called the Sales Savvy and Successful Entrepreneur, which is just a good empowered space to have honest conversations around sales. We talk a lot about sales mindset and also sales strategy, and just, again, what sales is all about, right? That's not just about selling and making money. It's about stepping up as a leader in your business and just feeling really empowered to receive and make an impact. And then I also, at my website, lisaeatoncoaching.com, and I actually just released several sales freebies that are up on my website. I have a root causes quiz that helps you get to the exact root cause of your own sales fear. And then I've got some other freebies that help you navigate sales conversations as a leader and with integrity. So you can find me there and check those out.
So good. And I can, I'll put the link of your website and your quiz in the comments as well. So if anyone's wanting to check that out or take
Awesome.
it in. And thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for just taking this time
Yes.
out of your day to have this conversation and to speak with us. And
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you for having me. It's always so good to connect with you. And I appreciate, like I said, I'm always looking for places to have more honest conversations about what sales really is. And I think it's great to do that here.
So good. Well, thank you.
Yes.
And I hope you have a fabulous
Yes.
day.
You too. Thank you. Bye.